Welcome to Career Coffee Chat Live. I'm your host, Erin Urban. It's a warm welcome for you today. Come on in, say hi, share where you're from, and what your biggest challenge is when it comes to expressing your value. Now, if you've never seen my smiling face before, you can learn more about me at coachieurban.com. What I focus on is helping people really leverage their zone of genius to thrive. Most specifically, I help high achieving leaders and teams to elevate their impact and influence without sacrificing well being. Now that's more important than ever. So if you are a person who identifies with maybe struggling to articulate your value and want to know more about how to express how you shine easily and confidently, you're in the right place. So don't be shy, say hi, come on in, and join us for a great discussion. Now, it would just be me today and my smiling face as I share with you the top tips I have as an executive coach, how you can strategize and plan how to share your value. Because most people that I talk to, this is not necessarily easy. And it's not easy for me either. In fact, I had to learn how to do this. It's not something that I was born knowing how to do. I was not born this way. So if you are just tuning in, come on in, say hi, say where you're from, share your top concerns, questions, insights, any information you have. You are welcome. And I look forward to sharing this space with you today. So, as we talk about what matters comes to expressing your value, you aren't alone. Most people are comfortable sharing their career contributions, including myself. So, today, what my plan is to share subtle shifts to free yourself from those false beliefs and a process to share your wins that works. So, as you tune in, or if you're watching the replay later, say hi, say where you're from. And if you have any questions, just know that even if you're watching the replay later, I'll be happy to answer your questions. Hi there, Donna. Great to see you this morning on LinkedIn. And you are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook today. And we're talking about, again, how to express your value so you can shine the brightest, particularly when it matters most. And that's not just, folks, that's not just during a job search interview process, okay? When you need to express your value, this is also important for any type of career advancement. And most of us, particularly women, not just women, but particularly women, kind of struggle with articulating how we shine the brightest, particularly when it matters most. Now, many professionals, as I've noticed, thank goodness, are getting the knack of sharing how they stand out from their peers on LinkedIn, like great headlines or catchy titles. However, I still hear weekly how many stories of how hard it is for many people to comfortably discuss their contributions when it matters most. Like I said, that's not just the interview. That's not just a performance review time. Sharing how you shine is important for your career advancement and needs to be a part of your not daily dialogue, but your more common dialogue. And to have that happen confidently is something that most people are like, ugh, I get it. I love selling myself and how I partner with leaders and teams to elevate their impact and income without sacrificing their well being is something I've had to practice how to say. I much prefer to let actions speak louder than words, and that strategy simply really doesn't work. And it never did work, but it materially doesn't work now. With hybrid and remote work environments, people being more stressed than ever, it's important for us to clearly communicate and articulate how we can add value and how we have added value to back up where we want to go in our careers. Hi, Tio. Great to see you. He says, I'm experiencing issues with a LinkedIn connection. Do you think there's an alternative YouTube link? Oh, we're going through this again. So, yes, we will have a brief pause while I share the YouTube link for those people on LinkedIn, although it looks like it may have cleared up a little bit. But let me have a brief pause while I go over here and share that YouTube link for you, Tio. So for those of you just tuning in, please say hi, say where you're from, and any questions that you have. Whether you're a job seeker, you're actively looking, or whether you're someone who is looking to grab a promotion or seek career advancement, I want to hear from you. It's really important to me that I can help you shine. So we are still experiencing a few issues with LinkedIn, and I'm going over to try to grab my YouTube link so you can see that. So just bear with me whilst I do that. Here we go. All right, which also means I need to hop on LinkedIn on my own show. That's currently airing live that nobody can see. All right, so let's go there. Okay, hop on YouTube, folks. Go on over to YouTube if you're on LinkedIn. There we are. So hopefully you'll see that. That didn't show up. All right, you failed to comment. I can't even comment. Okay. Well, this is not awesome. Oh, thank you, Matthew. Matthew saved the day. Okay, Matthew's awesome. He's on it. He's like, here, hop on over to YouTube. Sorry, folks. LinkedIn. Boo. Hi, Matthew, by the way. He's tuning in on YouTube as well. I'm sorry for all of you, Deanna, and some other folks that are having issues. Matthew has saved the day and shared that LinkedIn, YouTube, on that YouTube link. So this is not the only time we've had problems on LinkedIn, but I don't want to take up a whole bunch of time with the fact that LinkedIn is not necessarily playing well with others. Just a top tip, LinkedIn actually is downgrading video. So we'll see how much longer Career Coffee Chat Live is actually sharing on LinkedIn because we keep having problems. We don't have problems with Facebook and we don't have problems with YouTube, but LinkedIn sometimes is having issues. We're not sure why, but I do know that LinkedIn is downgrading videos quite a bit. And they're focusing on other things like polls, which is great, but not necessarily educational or helpful if you're seeking career advancement. So speaking of, let's get back to the topic at hand and expressing your value. So hopefully those of you who are tuning in have hopped on over to YouTube and you can pull up and say hi, by the way, if you're tuning in from YouTube and hopped over from LinkedIn. Let me know that you're here and that you had no troubles. If you are having troubles, let me know. And of course, I will share this full link on this LinkedIn post to YouTube so if you can watch the replay later. But let's see, where was I? Okay, yes, I was talking about how I love selling myself. Not love, loathe. That's a different word. I loathe selling myself. So I get it. I get it. If you are struggling with saying, okay, I'd love to express my value, Erin, and it just is not something that comes natural to me. You're not alone. But right now, more than ever, it's important for us to express that value. Now, even before the pandemic, it was very important for us to express our goals, share our career contributions when appropriate. And now it's even more so because, let's face it, decision makers, including everybody else, are more stressed than ever. It's ludicrous to expect them to remember all that you do and how it matters to the company. That is up to you. That's your job and your role. It's not their job to remember everything you've done. I know it comes as a shock. It's also not reasonable to expect someone to just read your resume or check out your LinkedIn and just get how awesome you are. As my friend Rick Gillis has been known to say, your work doesn't speak for itself. You do. So, with all that said, you'll be relieved to know that articulating your value does not mean that you have to transform into a salesperson. There's nothing salesy about sharing facts. Facts that include what you've done and why it matters. So let's see who's been able to hop on. So I have, hey, Donna, she's hopped on over to YouTube. So hopefully some folks, other of you have hopped off from LinkedIn to YouTube. And if you have, say hi, give me a wave, give me a thumbs up that you're here. I want to know that you're here. And don't be shy, ask your comments, your questions, pop those in the comments. I want to be able to help you thrive. And most importantly, if you're feeling a little stuck about expressing your value, get unstuck and get that next action item so you can thrive in your career and in your life. That's really important to me. So don't be shy. Share what your top questions and concerns are. Because, even though we're just simply expressing facts when we're sharing our value, why is it so darn hard to discuss our value in the first place? So before we dive into how to express your value and elevate your career for career advancement, let's make sure we address any roadblocks that might be standing in your way. So here's a few that I most commonly see in those I coach. Reluctance to brag. Give me a thumbs up if that's you. Is reluctance to brag? If that's you, give me a thumbs up. If you identify with being humble, very humble, sometimes humble to a fault, let me know if that's you as well. Give me a thumbs up or a like if that's you. Over reliance on expertise. Just look at my expertise. I'm awesome. I have all this expertise. Therefore, I deserve a promotion. It doesn't really work that way. It would be great, but no, it doesn't. Wouldn't that be nice if you just got expertise and credentials and that just equal to pay raise? Naturally, without you having to do anything else? That would be wonderful. And it doesn't always work that way. And hard on the heels of that is, look at my credentials. I have the alphabet soup after my name. Yeah, that's great. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're destined for career advancement. So let me know, give me a like or a thumbs up if that resonates with you, or pop any questions you have in the comments. A hard worker myth. That's another one I see a lot. I work really hard. I don't understand why. Yeah. Well, yeah, just working hard doesn't really do it. And they should know. They should just know. They should just get that I want to move up. Or most often, I really don't know what to say. I know I need to express my value. I know I need to share my career contributions. I really don't know what to say. So firstly, sharing how you shine based on factual information is not bragging. So for those of you who identify that, like that was a tick mark for you, you gave me a thumbs up. Yes, I'm afraid to brag. Bragging is overstating facts to your benefit, which is rarely a good idea. By expressing your value, you're focused on the facts about how you made a difference. Make sense? So I hope so. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm just checking over here on the comments so far. Or good. So give me a thumbs up if you're still good, or if you have any questions, pop that in the comments. Now, for those of you who identify with being humble, I applaud you. You're awesome when used in moderation. Humility is a lovely trait that can be taken too far very quickly. If you have a habit of putting yourself last, it's likely that other people will too. Yeah, I know. And I'm not saying you should hog the spotlight either. In most things, there's a balance, right? But if you have a habit of putting yourself last or absolutely want other people to get credit before yourself, there's probably some deeper work there. That's what I run across when I'm coaching clients who really do take this humility thing a little bit to the next level. There might be something else going on that's stopping you from feeling comfortable or feeling like you are worthy to share that, yes, you do indeed have value. And as I mentioned before, relying on your credentials and expertise just isn't enough. You can have alphabet soup after your name, but that doesn't mean you're a top performer. Even having a PhD, is my husband listening? My husband's a PhD mechanical engineer. Even having a PhD doesn't mean that you're destined for awesomeness. Working somewhere for a while also isn't the answer. Just because you've done X job for so many years doesn't equal a promotion or pay raise or career advancement. I mean, after all, how do decision makers know that you don't really like what you've been doing, maybe forever, if you don't express clearly what you want to accomplish? The same myth applies to those who are hard workers. As someone who has bought into this false belief for years, working hard usually equals more hard work. So stop the madness, stop everything. I'm not, however, suggesting that you become lazy or doing mediocre work. That's not a good idea. What I do hope is that you understand putting your head down and plowing through it day in, day out isn't a good plan for career advancement. That's not a strategy, right? And expressing your value is tremendously important for you getting from where you are today to where you want to go. Now, you may hope that you'll be noticed because, after all, they should know that you work hard and therefore deserve a pay raise or a promotion or whatever it is your goal. Fortunately, that's not the case. Like I mentioned before, now more than ever, leaders are overwhelmed. We have the Great Resignation. That's putting a huge strain on resources, and we got a huge loss of knowledge as well. People are having to pick up the pieces and scramble. In addition, we have the Great Reset, which is not necessarily the same thing. Everyone's figuring out what the future of work will look like, what the work environments will be, and what culture, what's the critical for the work company cultures? What will we put up with? What will we not put up with? In addition, you have post-pandemic fatigue, too early, and disaster fatigue, not to mention disillusion with country leadership on various levels, blah, 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 blah. I could keep going. So we've got a lot on our minds. Quite frankly, our entire world has been turned upside down, inside out in 2 years, and most of us are just tired. Okay, make sense? So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, great. Tio's got it. Yay! So hopefully, Tio, you can either join us on LinkedIn or YouTube. And let me know again if you have any questions. Give me a thumbs up. Is this making sense to you? Does this resonate? Does this make sense? So let me know if you also have any questions. But people are just overwhelmed. So here's a true story. I went, as some of you may already know, from being known as a steamroller. Yeah, I know, big shocker. In my career to a leadership position in 9 months. Well, how did that happen? Well, one of the things I did was I started sharing my goals. That's one of the things. The other thing I did was I started seeing the value in other people and not just being a what next. It's my way, their highway. I have to be perfect and the person who saves the day, and not ignoring that really most things are a team effort. Duh. So I started caring more about people, and it's not that I didn't, it's just, how should I put this? I was overly professional, right? I wasn't as friendly as I could be. I was so focused on getting the job done that I didn't spend the time I should with the people I was working with. And I also didn't share my goals, like ever. Mm-mm. So what I did was during that 9-month window, pretty early on, I'd say halfway through, after I kind of gotten the clue and figured out, oh, that's what leadership is. Oh, it's not about working hard. And oh, okay. So I got some golden nuggets here. Major transformation happening, going from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Halfway through this journey, in that 9-month period, I had the opportunity to apply for the VP of Operations position. Now, even as a senior project manager, that was a bit of a stretch. Okay. But I did it anyway. And the reason I did it wasn't because I actually wanted the job. I didn't. I wanted my mentor to get the job. I wanted visibility and a conversation with key decision makers. That's what I wanted. Okay, make sense? So I applied for the job because I knew I would get that one-on-one time at FaceTime with key decision makers. And one of the first interviews that I had, versus several down the line, was with the CEO. It was a mid-sized company. So VP of Ops, yes, you're going to interview with your boss, the CEO. So the CEO, Stan, asked me very nicely, basically, Erin, why did you apply for the job? And I mentioned it's not that I have huge aspirations of being the VP of Ops. And he was like, okay. It's like, and I'm not here to waste your time. I know that you only know me for what I do day in and day out. It's not like anybody memorizes my resume or is fully cognizant of all the information that I know, the value that I can bring to the organization. He goes, really? That's interesting. What do you want to do? So I told him. And most importantly, I told him how my expertise, my knowledge can add value to the business. That was critical. And so many months later, they made a position for me. This is what happens when you get airtime with those decision makers. So we'll talk a little bit about how you can prepare yourself. Because quite frankly, expecting people to just get that you're doing whatever it is that you're doing right now for an express purpose without expressing that purpose, it just doesn't work. I mean, you can't expect people to read your mind. Hopefully that makes sense. So for those of you who aren't sure what to say, and for everybody else as well, here's what does work. Number one, know your target. You have to know where you're going with your career. What is your goal? What is your trajectory? Where are you going with it? So know your target. Number two, identify your contributions. So identify and pinpoint those wins so you can articulate them. Because without identifying them first, no, you can't express your value. It would be impossible. So you can't do that. So yes, identify your contributions. And number 3, share them. Share your goals. Share your wins. Okay. And let's talk about what that looks like. So number 1, know your target. Okay. Before you can share how you shine, consider what your goals are based on your zone of genius. Now, your zone of genius, and those of you who know me have probably heard about this, and this is, by the way, what I focus on predominantly. It's been the only type of coaching I've done since the beginning of the year, and it's transformational. But it is where you almost effortlessly perform at your best and live fulfilled, happy life. So it truly is your zone of genius. It's where you get the most energy. You show up, you shine the brightest, you're leveraging your gifts and your talents and your knowledge, and you're doing it in an environment and forward with people that you are fulfilled 80% of the time, right? So we're not thinking, oh, every day is perfect, but most of the time you are fulfilled. So it may surprise you to know that, yes, you can excel at something that you hate to do. So this is why I focus on the zone of genius and focusing on that which brings you fulfillment, because you can be really good at something that you really don't like doing. Make sense? So it's critical for your long-term fulfillment and career advancement that you're sharing a brand that aligns with your career trajectory based on what you want to do. And for my clients that want more clarity about their goals based on their zone of genius, one of the first assessments we do together discusses what actions and tasks give you energy versus which ones drain you. Now, this is a wonderful first step towards understanding what you naturally gravitate towards and what to avoid, particularly when planning your career advancement strategy. So if you're not really sure what your goal is, I recommend that you consider, well, what do I do that gives me energy? And what do I do that drains me? That will give you a good idea. It's a very good indicator what your strengths are, what you naturally gravitate towards, and what you probably want to avoid moving forward. Because if this drains you, chances are it will continue to drain you moving forward. Now, sometimes it's just where you work and not what you do. So also keep that in mind. Is it just a toxic environment? And what about it is toxic? So being very specific is important, particularly if you're considering a career pivot or a shift to someplace new, like a lot of people are doing right now. Because the last thing you want to do is leap from the frying pan to the fire. We don't want that. So we want to make sure that you can have long-term career fulfillment versus just something short and fleeting. Number 2, identify your contributions. This is so incredibly important because obviously that's what we're here to talk about, expressing your value and sharing how you shine. It's important to do this, however, based on your goals. Like I said before, you can be great at something you hate to do. So I wouldn't share, like, I'm really good at Excel and you hate Excel, because it'll just give me more of Excel work to do if you keep talking about it. So you want to be aligned with your goals because you're more likely to attract what you want to see more of in your career based on what you share. Make sense? So essentially, whatever you put out there is likely what you'll see more of. But most people I work with struggle to articulate their contributions. So when they start working with me, I hear a lot of, I just don't know what to say. I don't feel comfortable. I might be bragging. I hate to brag. I don't want to sell myself. I get it. I understand why. I used to be totally unaware that this was a thing. However, when I began leading major projects and culture changes, it was essential to learn how to discuss the work, why the work I did matters to the organization. Basically, let's put it this way. If I wasn't making impact with the work I was doing, it was unlikely I would continue to receive resources and or backing for any of the projects I led by executives. So it's important that I clearly articulate how and why the work I was doing mattered. Because if I didn't, I might not have a job. So as you can see, this drove me to quickly understand how to express my value and the value of the work in the teams that I led as well. As a leader, by the way, it's equally important to learn how to highlight the team without detracting from your own contributions. Most people get this wrong. They'll either overemphasize the team or they'll hog all the glory, and neither one is a good idea. No. So what does work is, number one, consider your top projects or wins. Chances are you have something you're extremely proud of, or several somethings that you're extremely proud of. Or maybe these are hurdles you overcame, right? Maybe there are roadblocks for you doing a really good job and you overcame those. Perhaps you played a role in a major initiative. Or it could be changes you made in how things were done to improve an outcome. Maybe you saw something that really, this doesn't work. Let's fix this process or whatever it is. These are contributions. They stand out from the standard rank and file of you showing up and working on a computer every day and drinking coffee, right? Now, I will also argue to say that you showing up every day and drinking your coffee and working on a computer is a contribution, because if you weren't there, then who would be doing it? You could say, oh, it's somebody else. And it's not somebody else, it's you. So that also matters, right? So doing what you do every day is a contribution. A lot of people don't realize that. They figure, well, it's just part of the job. Well, yes, it's a part of the job, and you're doing it. So therefore, it's valuable. Hello. So hopefully this is resonating with you, and please let me know if you have any questions. So far, I'm not seeing any questions yet, but if you do have any questions, let me know, because I'm here to help you. I'm here to make sure you shine. So what questions do you have, if you have any, so far about articulating your value, expressing your value, sharing how you shine? We've talked about a lot of things. I think I've covered a lot of topics, but I want to make sure that I help you. And even if you're watching this replay later on, hey, no worries. I'm still here. So all you have to do is send me a message or just comment and I'll see that. So yes, even though it's part of the work you do, it's still valuable. So don't get lost in the, oh, well, it's just, part of the job. It doesn't have to be a standout project that stands out from what you're doing now. It's still important. So chances are you wouldn't have a job if what you did didn't matter. Right? So I hope that makes sense for you. Now, when you consider some of these things that I mentioned, maybe it's in a project, maybe it's an initiative, maybe it's part of the work you do, maybe it's something you fixed, etc. Focused on the results. Why did what you do or did, why does it matter? What did you accomplish? What was the outcome? When expressing your value, don't skip sharing the impact of your work. This is very important. If you can articulate in dollars and cents or percentage, great. Oftentimes people can't. I won't say oftentimes, sometimes. I would have to say oftentimes we think we can't. And in reality, we actually can. You can even extrapolate. Now, as I'll share again later, probably if you're extrapolating, I wouldn't extrapolate internally. If you are doing an internal report or sharing something internally within your company, make sure your numbers or percentages are spot on. However, externally, they know what you share them. And with wild exceptions, most people don't fact check you. So, but some results aren't as easily discussed. They're a little bit less obvious, if you will. And as a side note, again, just remember that if it's in the interview, rough estimates are fine, right? So if you're sharing, what you've done and you need to extrapolate, that's okay. So for those of you who are very detail oriented, want to get things exact, typically they don't fact check you, so you'll be okay. Now, another thing to consider when you're talking about and compiling these contributions is, what was your role in whatever it was that you did? Did you lead it or were you involved? Be very clear on which one it was and be honest about that. Don't say I led it when you were just part of the team. So say that. Say you were part of the team. It still matters. Okay, it doesn't downgrade it. Resist, however, getting into the weeds about the project. High level. What was the project? What was the improvement? What was the fix that you did? Or win that you want to highlight? Resist getting into all the details and sharing everything. And for those of you who are addicted to those details, write it all out and then condense it down to a short synopsis. That can be one sentence. I know it's difficult, particularly if it was very evolutionary how you got to the end result. But even if it was spaghetti, you can probably condense it to something high level and emphasize the impact of what you've done. Now, for internal reasons, you might want to get into a little bit more detail, particularly if you're talking to your boss or your manager. But if you're just sharing a win in a meeting, probably you don't need to go into all the gory details, or those people that work with you on that project might even be in the room, so they already know it's not necessary. Now, number 3, sharing those goals and wins. Here comes the fun part. So understanding when and where to share how you shine is really important. Obviously, you want to resist randomly dumping information on people and hogging the spotlight at inappropriate times. Like one of my clients was sharing with me, she has this gentleman, or actually she's the only female in a team of males, and they tend to do a lot of chest beating. Look at me, I'm awesome, raw. And she's more reserved, naturally. She's more reserved. That's just not her style. She's not a chest beating kind of person. So they're like hogging the spotlight and not really letting her shine at all. So we're working together to come up with a plan and a strategy to help her stand up and stand out appropriately. That's not totally unnatural to her. And yes, it'll take more energy for her to do that, but it is important, particularly if she's in a culture that, people are fighting for the spotlight. Now, you might be wondering, why is that going on? Well, in this particular instance, her leader does not have any one-on-ones with his team. Bad idea. And as a result, his team, because he's busy, doesn't feel like they have any time. They don't have any time with him to share these things that really do need to be shared in person. Well, particularly at that detail. So they're hogging the spotlight, they're fighting, they're scrambling over each other to get, time with the boss. Look at me, look at me, look at me. And if they can, it's very competitive because it looks like that particular branch is important to the company. So a lot of things are going on culturally. So just keep that in mind. If some sort of spotlight hogging is going on, there's probably a reason why. However, no matter where your role is within the organization, you can encourage a culture of sharing wins in a positive and productive manner no matter where you are, right? No matter what role you have, you don't have to be a leader. You can say, would it be appropriate now for some part of the team to share some of the wins they've had for the week? And have other people go first, right? Instead of going, I would like to share my win, and then, hey, would you like to share your win? Yeah, approach it differently. Approach it more of a team collaborative effort, and then hopefully that will start to take root, because it's important for people to have a time and space to share, particularly in hybrid or remote work environments, what they've been working on and why it matters. And if there's not, you'll have, like my clients experiencing, the scrabbling and competitive environment, which is really unproductive and spotlight hogging and a waste of time in meetings, and it's just not a good culture to be in at all. And if you have regular meetings with your leadership, be sure to mention your contributions as a standard part of your report out. So a standard part of the conversation. Don't wait until the performance review. You want to start sharing your goals and what you want to accomplish for the company at appropriate moments, way before the performance review and when it's appropriate. Another critical piece people oftentimes miss, and particularly when it comes to getting promoted into leadership, is creating a business case for your promotion. Now, as I mentioned before in my earlier story about how I took a risk, I applied for a job and you wouldn't get. It wasn't much of a risk, other than I knew I would get FaceTime with people that mattered. I also knew that I wasn't going to go in and say, I'm awesome and I work really hard and therefore you should promote me. That doesn't work. I needed to share what my value was in relationship to how it would be valuable for the company first. So yes, getting promoted is about you after you add value to the company. So decision makers want to see how you think, right? And most importantly, that you're thinking ahead. So being blunt about the value you bring to the organization, because yes, while being promoted benefits you, not before it benefits the company. So we want to put that first. Other obvious essential times to express your value and how you shine are during performance review time, of course, during interviews, yes. And naturally, you want to highlight these on your resume as well. Now, on LinkedIn, just a side note, if you are discussing your contributions on LinkedIn, Stay away from dollars and cents because it is a public forum. So unless that information is publicly known, you probably don't want to share that. Stick to percentages or a verbal explanation, if that makes sense. Yeah, Donna's like, share your wins on a weekly report. That's right. Spot on, Donna. She's on it. Donna, you and I have talked, so we know that, yeah, you've got some interesting times. So, all right. What else? Do you have any questions so far? Be sure to reach out to me, even if you're watching the replay later on. Be sure you reach out to me because I want to be able to help you with anything that might be just, kind of wrapping your hands around trying to get a hold of. Now, here's something else to keep in mind. Critical moments that you want to share how you shine sometimes occur by happenstance. And these are very critical. They aren't planned, and you want to have your story practiced and ready to go. And this story is a short synopsis of who you are, what your core expertise is, and what your goal is as well in relationship to adding value to the company. Now, share this when you have a chance to meet top-level decision makers, so top executives, etc., within your organization for the first time. It would be weird if you've met Bob, the senior VP, or CFO a dozen times and all of a sudden hit him with this thing. But if you're meeting someone for the first time, it's oftentimes appropriate just to say, hi, my name's Erin. I lead continuous improvement projects for the Texas region. Several of my projects were mentioned in last month's internal newsletter. My goal is to leverage my proven expertise in the global CI division to increase revenue at a higher level within the organization. That's it. Takes maybe less than a minute. Be very short and very to the point. You may think that's strange. Let me tell you something about leaders, particularly senior executives. They have no bandwidth. They do not have time for a story. They don't, and they're not going to take you seriously if you try to back around something or backpedal or second guess yourself. We need to be direct, politely and factually direct and to the point with them. They have very little time, and they oftentimes will appreciate you being concise and to the point. They may have a question for you, be prepared to answer it. But this elevator pitch is very, very important for those key moments where you may have a chance to deliver this when it matters most. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh, this is what I would do during networking. Well, maybe, but oftentimes most of it don't necessarily network at that level. We're talking senior level executive C-suite. So let me know if you have any questions about that or you're not quite sure what that would look like for you. Now, you'll notice that I didn't mention a specific role. This was intentional. It's not a good idea to include ousting someone else as a part of your elevator pitch. Yes, my goal is to kick Susie out of her job and take it. Probably not. In fact, I had a client, before she started working with me, interviewed for a marketing position within an organization. And in the room were 3 individuals. And one of those was her boss, her boss's boss, etc. And of course, they asked her the wonderful questions, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? Guess what she said? In her boss's boss position. Yeah, she didn't get the job. So you might want to be a little bit more generic or more focused on what value you're going to bring versus talking about someone's position specifically. So share your goals far and wide. Share how you shine internally as well as externally, because quite frankly, your network cannot help you unless you give them something to work with. And know that it takes time for your network to work. And it takes a lot more time if they don't have anything to work with. So share your goals, share what you want to accomplish. So some of this is important, but you may have a slightly different pitch if you're talking to people outside the organization, right? You may say, well, I'm really looking for leadership roles in continuous improvement, or I want to become a director of quality management, etc. People are much more likely to assist you if they know how to support you, right? And if you support them. Now, if you hear some weed eating going on, it's my neighbor Dave. I know this is a side note, and bless him, he's 70 something. And we mow his yard all the time. And he always looks for opportunities to give us something or pay us back, which we really don't need to be paid back. We're just mowing his yard because that's what neighbors do. And he's over here weed eating my fence. I'm like, oh, bless Dave. So anyway, let's give a round of applause to Dave. Get some hearts to Dave. Send some love up for Dave. Anyway, so, but yes, your network cannot help you if they don't know how to help you. Make sense? So you want to share your goals with them. Donna says, that was an excellent elevator pitch. Thank you. Thank you very much. I practiced it for about 5 seconds. But you do want to practice yours more than 5 seconds because you want to be very smooth when delivering that elevator pitch or any sort of branding statement. You want to be able to be practiced and natural at it. It should roll right off the tongue. If it doesn't roll right off the tongue, then shift it to make sure it does. And when you're sharing your goals with your network, ask them because they may not be so great at sharing things in general, right? Ask them, how can I help you thrive? How can I help you shine? What goals do you have? Where do you want to see yourself going? And connect them with people. Now, those people who are really good at connecting others, oh dear, Dave's meeting my hose. Real life drama on the Career Coffee Chat Show. Okay. I appreciate his help, but it's just kind of funny. Anyway, so when you connect with other people, they're more likely to connect you when the moment matters, right? Hopefully all that makes sense. So I hope you enjoyed our conversation today about how to express your value and share where you shine, particularly when it matters most. And again, I'm here to help you. So if you have questions or you want to connect with me about something, just reach out, either comment in the comments or send me an instant message on LinkedIn, even though I'm not sure LinkedIn is working. I think it's working. It's working on mobile. I don't know. But on YouTube, you can reach out to me at coachieurban@gmail.com. That's the easy email address. So just reach out to me or just go to coachieurban.com right here and send me a note. I'm here to help you. I want to make sure that you shine and most importantly, elevate your career and elevate your impact for more impact, influence, and income without sacrificing your well-being. All right, my friends, it's good to see you. I need to go save my garden before Dave weed eats it all. It's good to see all of you, and look forward to next week when we'll have an extra special guest on talking about some really good stuff about how to elevate your career and advance yourself and your life for the betterment. So tune in next Tuesday or watch the replay again. Share with your friends. It's good to see you. And as always, my friends, keep elevating.